Good evening, Detroit, and welcome back to Green Detroit Now. I'm your co-host, Mr. Clyde Shabazz of the Green Party. And with me this second half of the hour, I have Mr. Fred Vitale, the chairman of the Michigan Green Party, and Mr. Derek Grigsby, the chairman of the Detroit Green Party. And I wanted to give out some information, Detroit, about the Green Party, how you can reach us. We would love to hear from you, either by email or by phone, or even writing to us. Our P.O. Box is P.O. Box 02716, Detroit, Michigan, 48212. Again, that's P.O. Box 02716, Detroit, Michigan, 48202. Excuse me for that. Thank you for the correction, Fred. That's 48202. You can also reach us by telephone at 313-580-4905. Again, it's 313-580-4905, or you can check us out online at migreens.org or detroitgreens.org. We're going to open up back the phone lines in a few minutes, but we wanted to touch on a couple of issues that are affecting Detroit right now. As many of you know, Derek and I, we had submitted petitions to get our names on the ballot. Unfortunately, we were told that we didn't have enough signatures to get our names on the ballot. So those of you who are supporting us, we still have plans. And what we're going to be looking to do very shortly, there's 167 candidates running. We want to push or advance a green agenda, which means it's going to encompass a range of issues that are important to Greens. As Derek had mentioned earlier, a human rights aspect where, you know, we're talking about basic human issues of like water affordability, being able to have electricity and the like, and that sort of thing, jobs and the like, and that sort of thing. So we're looking to partner with HPR TV 33 and some of the staff here, and you'll be looking to get more updated information. But before we get into that more detail, I think, Fred, you had a couple of things that you wanted to talk about, too, as well. You wanted to mention, sir?
Yes. One of the things that we talked about when you and I were sitting there talking was what's the meaning of what's happened so far with Reverend Pinckney? I think it was really wonderful. We were there on Saturday for the Green Party state membership meeting, and Reverend Pinckney is the honorary co-chair of the Green Party, has been now for 3 years.
Yes.
Co-chair with me. And he was able to come and speak with us for a little while, and then I think his sort of tether time ran out.
Okay.
But here's the thing. That Friday night, Minister Farrakhan was in Benton Harbor. We spoke to several hundred people. So at our Green Party meeting, we had dozens of new people interested in the Green Party. Farrakhan would not have been in Benton Harbor had it not been for the many organizations, local organizations, that have been supporting Reverend Pinckney.
That's correct.
Like the Green Party, the Detroit Greens, Michigan Welfare Rights, Call 'em Out. We've been supporting him for almost 4 years. And now big organizations nationally have just come on board, religious organizations, and now as well Minister Farrakhan. So that's good news, and it shows that persistent struggle can make a difference. I think that's an important lesson. Persistent struggle did make a difference in the case of Reverend Pinckney. We brought his name to worldwide attention, and for that reason, he is now out, even with a tether. He's out of prison and is able to continue, at least in some minimal way, the struggle. So that's an important small step that we've made. And it was something that many of the people listening participated in.
Well, that's great news. Engineer, could I get a little mic on my microphone too, sir, by the way? Thank you. That's great news, Fred. The other thing, and I want to piggyback on that, because as we highlight the issue of Reverend Pinckney, Detroit, and Derek hit on this earlier, and I'm going to put this question to you, Detroiters. We have the same similar situation going here in Detroit. You see where you have leadership, so-called people, elected officials, from the school board to the city council to the mayor's office, where they're elected and they're voted in by a handful of people, but they're not doing the people's business. And this is after year after year after year after year.
For sure.
I particularly, and this is where I'm going to get on my high horse, I'm looking at what the appointment of Mr. Robert Bob, what he's been doing over at the DPS. And, you know, one of the things that we have seen with the decisions that he's been making and coming down with was the blatant, and I mean blatant corruption that's been going on over there. And me particularly, and I'm gonna just say that as a black man from Detroit, look, we've had a black mayor, a black city council, a black police chief, a black fire chief, a black school board superintendent, a black school board, but we got all this black misery. In Detroit, I'm saying I'm tired. You know, one of the reasons why I'm not a Democrat is because I've heard it on both sides. You know, Republican, whether you a white suburban Democrat or I'm sorry, Republican or a black urban Democrat. It's time out for the corruption and the crap. People want basic services. That's a universal want, okay? And what I'm saying to you, Detroit, is that you have choices. You don't have to keep taking the same crap. If you see where black Democrats aren't doing the job, come join the Green Party, because you don't have to keep taking that crap. You've got people in place here that are ready to serve and do good. And those of you who've been on the outside and who've been working within the Democratic Party or who are thinking about trying to run as a Democrat, if they're not letting you in and in their political system and is keeping you out and the like, you have choices too. You can come over here and dialogue with us. I'm not saying that we want to replace all Democrats, because all Democrats aren't bad. There's some good ones and there's some good people in other parties. What we're saying is we want right thinking, righteous people to start representing the people in their will and their ways and their programs, okay?
But I just want to say that, yes, I don't have all the intricate details in my head. I've read it. I know the difference. And basically, charter schools is just a way to privatize our public school system. It creates division. I know that. It creates, well, there are labor problems because they eliminate the unions. So there's a big problem with charter schools.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need them. Detroit schools are already in bad enough shape as it is. We need to use those resources. All those people who are championing charter schools like Bing and the rest, use those finances you have, use those resources you have to put them into building up our public school system. What's wrong with just one system for everybody? People say they like to have choice. Well, we should have the choice of having good education and bad education. We should not have the choice of dividing ourselves, causing more conflict through division.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I'll agree with that up to a point, because I have an opinion on that too. My whole thing is, whether it's a charter or a public school, I'm tired of the corruption with the contracts and the fake jobs. People who don't really work for the DPS getting a check and taking that money from kids, okay?
Yeah.
To me, that's just as bad, where you're talking about the resources, whether it's charter or the public school itself, because you can't have either one if you've got people down there taking money and setting up their friends with contracts and setting them up with ghost jobs that don't even exist and getting paid. That's what I'm against, okay?
Yeah.
And I think those people should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, because you're taking food, books, resources from our kids, whether it's a public school or a charter school.
That's true.
That's my issue.
That's true.
And we want to thank all of our callers for calling in. We want to thank Ann and Margaret for co-hosting. I want to thank Derek and Fred. And folks, again, we're going to sign off for this week. This is Green Detroit Now. I'm your co-host, Clyde Shabazz. We're on every Wednesday from 6 to 7, okay? Our P.O. Box is 02716, Detroit, Michigan 48202. Our number again is 313-580-4905. We are the Michigan Green Party, and thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Green Detroit Now. Thank you so much, everybody. You have a good night, and God bless.
Good night.